Video is going to go through different ways of answering percentage questions. So the first method is going to be to use a calculator. Now some calculators, including scientific ones and the ones that you can get on your computer and phone, will have the percentage symbol on there. But it is always useful to know what to put into your calculator, especially if it doesn't have that percentage mark on the calculator. So our sum is going to be 25% of 200. So step one is to find out what the percentage is as a decimal number. Now there is a different section on the Google Classroom of how to do decimals, percentages and fractions, but I thought I would show you in this video anyway, just to either give you a reminder or to teach you this way of doing it, which only relates to percentages without confusing it with fractions as well. So the way in which we do this is we think of 25% is actually 25 over 100. So to find it as a decimal, we do 25 divided by 100 equals 0.25. So just to show you that in place value, so our original number being 25 is here. We're then dividing by 100. So we are moving our numbers 2 places. So this 5 starts here in the units column and it moves 2 places, 1, 2, which means it ends up here. Our 2, which starts off in our tens column, moves 2 places, 1 being the units column, 2 being the tenths column, so it ends up here. Our decimal points then get added back in. And then we fill our units with a 0 here because we can't leave it as just 0.25. It has to have some kind of placeholder here, which is a 0, 0.25. So what you're then putting into your calculator is going to be 0.25 multiplied by the number of the number that you're given. So for example, here it's 200, and that is going to be 50. So the second method is going to be non-calculated. So the question is 15% of 80. Now I would split this into 10% and 5%. To find 10% of a number, you take your number and you divide it by 10. To then find 5%, because what you've done to 10 to get 5 is divided by 2, you do the same thing to the answer. So we take the answer to our 10% being 8 and we divide it by 2, which is 4. Now to get the 15%, we need to add our 10 with our 5%, which gives us a total of 12. So 15% of 80 is 12. Sticking with that same method, we have 60% of 250. Again, I would split this up slightly. So rather than going straight for the 60%, I would do 10% first, which as we've just done is the number, divided by 10. If we're then looking for 60%, what we've done to the 10 to get to 60 is multiply it by 6. We need to do the same thing to the answer. So we do 25 times 6 equals 150. So 60% of 250 is 150. If we then have a question, for example, of 24% of 150, I will split this up again. So I would first of all be working out 10%, which we do by doing 150 divided by 10. In the same way, trying to get to 20% from 10%, you multiply it by 2, so we need to do the same thing to the answer. So we do 15 times 2 equals 30. The 4%, if 10% is dividing it by 10, to figure out 1%, you're going to be doing 150 divided by 100. To do 4%, we then do 1.5 multiplied by 4. Which is the same as if you wanted to do it in a kind of addition, 1.5 plus 1.5. I know some people prefer to do the multiplications that way. And when you're doing the maths paper, at no point is anybody testing your method of doing anything. There's no one right or wrong method, it's just how you get to that answer. So 1.5 then times 4 is 6. To then get 24%, we need our 20, which is 30, plus 4%, which is 6. And our answer is 36.